Hello, I am Emily Thurman, and I have chosen issue point 1.5, Redefining Public Education. I believe that public education should be redefined. In the Frederick Hess argument, he says that public schools are indeed not public because basically they are for profit, they are still not open to everyone, and teachers' beliefs fall on the students. Public schools still have the right to deny education to students who might be disabled, have learning disabilities, handicapped. Also, teachers can not really say what they want to say, but sometimes their personal beliefs come out in their teaching, which could change a student's mind on an issue or a lesson that is coming on, and not use their own critical thinking skills to come to their own conclusion. Joe Nathan says in his article that over 30 years, public school districts have served minorities and low-income families, and their excuse is they're doing it the best they can with the funding that they can. He believes that if there was more funding, it would be able to take care of minorities, students that are disabled, and anyone else who might fall into that category. According to a Gallup poll, 80% of the public believes the achievement gap falls between white children and minorities, and those factors are other factors that don't have to do with the quality of schooling, like their home life, parental involvement, even who they run around with, and extra school activities that they do. Maybe they're not involved in extracurricular, maybe they do not play sports. So as soon as they get off the bus or if they get out of their house, they're falling in with the wrong crowd. He also says many state legislators are opting not to raise taxes and not give more money to schools serving low-income and limited English-speaking students. In order for a public school to serve all, it has to serve these English language learners, minorities, like I said before, students with disabilities. So if the funding is not there, then teachers cannot give these students the education that they need and that they deserve. He believes that public schools should, if you're reading on page 68, they should be open to all kinds of students and not use admission testing. They should follow due process procedures and with regards to students and teachers. They should also use state-approved standardization and other measures to help monitor student progress or lack thereof. So they should use the same thing across the board to check on student progress. They need to close the achievement gap between white students and racial minority and low-income students as an explicit measurable goal. So their goal should always be to close that achievement gap. But the problem is they can't close that achievement gap because of the other factors that go along with schooling. You can only do so much from 8 to 3. After that, they're on their own with their families, with their home life, their job, or what else they're trying to do. He also says that public schools should be actively chosen by faculty, families, and students, so that people should have a choice in if they want to attend public school and which public school they should attend. Most people say, well, they get their choice because they move into that district or they move into that neighborhood. But if you have to live in that neighborhood, but you don't like the school, you should have a choice based off where you want your child to go. On the topic of charter schools, if you look at www.wehavekids.org, charter schools do have some advantages. They're smaller schools and they're smaller class sizes. They have more of a family atmosphere. They have different styles of learning, and they also have less discipline problems. This is probably due to the low enrollment and low class size. Charter schools are still accountable for their testing and still accountable for student progress. They still have to go before a board, not necessarily a school board, but their board made up of private investors, and show them that progress is being made inside the school. Charter schools also have different innovations, meaning that schools don't have to always have a child sitting behind a desk. They do project-based learning. They're taking kids here and there. They're not always sitting behind a desk listening to a lecture. I know that that doesn't always happen in public schools either, because I have been a public school teacher. But they're more innovative because they have more money to spend on things that they can do. School vouchers, according to edchoice.org, they give parents the freedom to choose a private school for their child using all or part of public funding set aside for a child's education. So the funds that are typically used by a school district for that student will be allotted to a family as a voucher. They can use this voucher to go to a private school, a charter school, and those funds come from the public school district in which they're not going to attend. There's only 15 states in the United States that use the school voucher program. They are Arkansas, Washington, D.C., Florida, Georgia, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Maine, Mississippi, North Carolina, New Hampshire, Ohio, Oklahoma, Utah, Vermont, and Wisconsin. So for those of us that are in Missouri, that's not an option. School vouchers, according to edsource.org, have also been known to improve academic performance. In fact, the competition created by the school voucher program kind of improves public school education also, because they're trying to make their school better so that students will not leave in order to go to this charter school. The school voucher program also fosters more racial and socioeconomic integration and better civic values in a student. So for those of us that say, okay, well, if you go to a private school, you have to be white, you have to be elite, your family has to have money. That is entirely not true. If you live in one of these 15 states, you're eligible for the school voucher program, so you can go to any charter school or any private school that you want, and it's not based on your age, your color, your ethnicity, anything like that. So that is open really to all students. You can also do an education savings account, which allows parents to withdraw their children from public district or a charter school and receive a deposit of public funds into a government-authorized savings account. And these funds can be used for community college, educational therapy, higher education, tutoring. It is only eligible in, looks like, 5 states: Arizona, Florida, Mississippi, North Carolina, and Tennessee. The question is redefining public education. How are we going to do that when you have bureaucrats on both sides of the aisle, Democrat, Republican, Independent, that see their way as the only way of doing things? I think charter schools and school vouchers and private schools do give a choice. And I know the argument can be that, oh, it's not open to everybody. But in a sense it is. Now, it's not going to be able to handle severely handicapped students or students that have huge behavioral problems. But as some of you have already mentioned, neither do public schools. If you're severely handicapped, you're going to the state school. So a public education really isn't open for everyone, and neither is a private school. So both sides of the argument can argue and argue and argue. But I believe that privatization is probably the way to go, along with charter schools and the school vouchers, if we want to make education open to all. Thank you.